Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We are presented by The Athletic and CLNS Media. Today on the show, we've got good friend of the program, Ben Brust, on the show here. Ben is just kind of a dude living in his, dad's office right now, I think is the best way to put it. He also is like a former Final Four Wisconsin guard, so that stuff is also pretty good to have on your resume. But he hosts the Fundamentally Sound podcast with another good friend of the program, Reegs. I'm glad to have Ben on the podcast here. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm really just trying to figure out my life. I just I just thought of my best idea of the day was I'm looking at these two couches and I'm trying to figure out why I haven't connected them to pretty much make a bed in here so I can take naps at 2:30. I literally have no life. Watching Big Ten Media Day. I don't know, man. This is fun. This is the most exciting time of the week for me.
This is the most exciting time of the week. It's the most exciting day of the week. You're just going to have a blast today doing whatever comes to your mind. I was joking with you before that you should start playing video games again, start getting into FIFA, and you were just like, no, that's too addicting. Like, I can't. I have to keep that out of my life.
I have to keep the stimulating things out of my life because I can tell this because you're in Vegas. I went to the casino. I went to the casino 4 weeks ago. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. It doesn't get any lower than that. Luckily, I was on a heater. That's why I went going back. I won 4 days straight. But that's not something to be proud of. That means you have issues.
I don't know if it means you have issues. It just means you like to have a good time, I think. Were you out in Vegas with, fun people, at least?
No, I wasn't in Vegas. I'm saying you're in Vegas right now, so it's okay for me to tell the story, and you'd be like, oh, that's cool. I went to Rivers Casino right outside O'Hare Airport.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, boy is right. Made friends with all the regulars, which isn't a good thing.
You sit down for day 3 and you're just like,
it's me again.
It's me again. How you doing? I'm here, 4th day straight.
Are the dice hot right now?
No, okay, I'll go to another table. Oh my God. Before we get into what the meat of this podcast is going to be, we're going to talk about a Big Ten preview here. We're going to first talk about the Chicago Bulls because Ben is in Chicago and...
What a nightmare.
You should have seen Ben's face as he reacted to me saying Bulls because I didn't prep him for this at all beforehand.
No, but I did see you tweet about Paxton's quote. You know what's sad? Read the quote or refresh our memories here.
John Paxson is the what the fuck is he? Is he the general manager or the president?
He's
I can't remember.
The GM.
So
he's the basketball guy, and Guard deals with all the corporate BS.
Yeah. So John Paxson on 670 The Score. This is from Cody Westerland of Chicago beat writing fame for 670 The Score. He says, John Paxson, you can't put a timeline on it because there are so many variables out there. He then referenced building up equity with ownership for future decisions in rebuild when explaining decision to sell the Jordan Bell draft pick. In other words, he just needed to fill Jerry Reinsdorf's pockets so that Jerry Reinsdorf could then get rid of Rajon Rondo, whose, I believe, buyout, his guaranteed money, was something right around $3 million last year, which is a little bit less than what the Jordan Bell pick went for. So what the fuck are we even talking about here with the Bulls?
You got guys punching each other. You have management trying to feed their own pockets. You have management who, for the last decade, or maybe even beyond that, has been questioned on every possible angle. Yeah. But what stands out to me the most is in Chicago, we have Theo. So we've witnessed a rebuild. He literally gave us a 5-year plan. And John Paxson says, we can't put a number on it. We have no idea. Basically just said, we have no idea what we are doing. Which, to me, I don't get too invested with the Bulls.
It's not worth it.
At this point, I'm not really a fan of any NBA team. I'm just more of a fan of basketball at this point. As you get closer to almost making it sort of. But I obviously follow the Bulls. I never really was a big Bulls fan, but I feel bad for Bulls fans because there are so many of them who believe in the Bulls, even in this time period of the last 4 years after Derrick Rose got hurt, that they could beat LeBron. There was always a hope. It was really just to get them in the seats, and it worked, and I felt so bad for them, for their IQ levels.
Yeah, And then you have the Bobby Portis, Nikola Mirotic thing. So my initial reaction to this was, why in all that is holy would you fuck with Bobby Portis? Bobby Portis is 6'11", 250 pounds. He is from Arkansas, like country strong, like dude. Like this guy, like he's a really like he's not a bad guy. He's a very nice guy if you ever talk to him. But like you can tell by the way he plays, by his demeanor, that he's someone who can snap. And I don't know why you'd ever fuck with that.
He's someone where I would expect if he landed one punch, you'd be knocked out. And that's exactly what happened because he's from, like you said, he's country strong. I'm trying to think of a really good comparison for him, but I don't know. You just don't want, he's not someone you want to, light the brand the cow and they go crazy. Like you don't want to just light the fire on a guy like that. But, and that's the thing. I'm going to go back to even just spending some time in Europe. Like, there's something different about the cultures, and I can see why they clashed. It goes to Mirotic living in a really nice country, and Bobby Portis isn't from the nicest country or city in the United States. So that clash of cultures and backgrounds and playing time and being a part of an organization that can't do anything right. And I don't know how this has gone under the rug. Fred Hoiberg, I feel like, has kind of slipped by this as like he's not been talked about. Have you seen any criticism of Hoiberg when it comes to this?
That's a good point.
He hasn't had control of this locker room since he became the head coach of day one. Yeah. And so I mean, it's when I say the Bulls need to rebuild, I think everyone needs to go. Everyone, but you can't get rid of Reinsdorf. You can't. He clearly believes in Gar and Pax. They gave Fred Hoiberg another year and didn't really hint that they would, that he was on the hot seat in their exit interview last, I think it was April, right? Or it was May. Regardless, I don't know. I don't want to spend any more time wasting my breath and energy on the Bulls because it's really just a joke.
Well, we're not going to talk about the Bulls. I just want to bring up one more thing here. I was standing next to Bobby Portis at the NBA Draft Combine in 2015, I think he was drafted. Someone asked him, you play with a lot of energy, you play with, a lot of passion. He goes, yeah, I like to play like Kevin Garnett. And someone said, he plays kind of crazy. And then Bobby just looks up at them and goes, I'm very crazy. I play angry. I play mad. I play very angry because every game I sit in the locker room and envision that the other player on the team slapped my mom. That's why I get mad, and now I've got to get you because you slapped my mom.
That's some water boy shit right there.
Yes.
I love my mama very much, and now you know that.
Bobby Portis he's really, anyone who's, met him, he's a really nice guy. Off the floor, he's pretty chill from what I know, but, he is a guy that will, he will fuck you up.
Yeah, you talked me into the comparison I was looking for, and it's the water boy. I mean, it's definitely the water boy. They make fun of Gatorade. That's basically Bobby Porter's mama.
So I want to ask you, though, you've played at such a high level, and I want to see, kind of what your reaction to this was, because initially it was reported as, a cheap shot from Portis, but then you kind of, hear a bit more reporting, and it seems like over the course of 3 years... it went
back for, 3 years.
Nikola Mirotic, had been, an issue, kind of messing with Portis or whatever, and, you also kind of hear that there was a shoving match beforehand, and, it wasn't just, Bobby cold-cocked him or something like that. There was, some sort of, motion into this event. What are your thoughts on that? Just because, you've played in a locker room like this where, I'm sure that you guys get pissed at each other sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the consensus amongst players is that's going to happen. And you're not going to be on a team that's successful if you're not competing 110% every day in practice. You're never going to get better. Yeah. But that being said, the most I saw was just two guys kind of square up and get their arms up, and I quite honestly just started laughing. I was like, what are you guys doing? You guys are clowns. Obviously, they weren't going to hit each other, so I've never seen it cross the line. So there must be something more to it. There must be something more where, I don't know, maybe there was slurs or, I don't know, a personal level issue, because I've never seen, just competing on the basketball court turn into an actual cold-cocked hit. So I want to know the true story, but I have to think it's something that's a little deeper than, hey, you hit me with that elbow one time. I think it's deeper than that because it's more than just basketball. Something more has to happen to make someone punch somebody and break their jaw.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to what is supposed to be the meat of this podcast, the Big Ten preview. What are your overall thoughts on the Big Ten this year? Because I know you've done quite a bit of research on it, kind of going into the year.
Overall thoughts. This is like my opening press conference statement as a head coach right now, huh?
Yeah.
So obviously Michigan State is the favorite, right? Everyone has them pegged as a favorite.
Yeah.
I am very high on Purdue. I think when you look at college teams, right? Everyone looks at teams who lose like their top player to the NBA. I look at who do they have coming back after that. And I think teams that are built for success are teams that have done good things and have experience. Look, Purdue won the Big Ten title last year, and they virtually bring everyone back. And if you're telling me that they're not going to take that valuable experience with having 4 seniors, with having, some freshmen that could add to the puzzle, I don't see how they're not right neck and neck with Michigan State. But I don't know. I seem to be the only one who thinks that. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
So I think Michigan State's the favorite from a talent perspective. I think Cassius Winston's going to take a really big leap. Miles Bridges, to me, is the best player in college basketball this year. Nick Ward will figure out, I think, how to defend and stay on the floor a little bit better. They have Jaren Jackson, obviously. Josh Langford kind of played through a hamstring injury, last year. I think he's going to take a pretty big leap this year. So from a talent perspective, I think they're a notch ahead of Purdue. But I agree with you that I think Purdue is a little bit underrated. Like, we had Purdue at number 25 in our preseason poll, and I think that was low. Like, there's no way I would have Purdue below Northwestern in a preseason poll.
Look, you got P.J. Thompson, like one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios in Purdue history. Yeah. Carson Edwards is, I think, going to take another, big jump here after playing with 2 USA teams, a lot of experience in the summer. Ryan Klein, he's a guy who's just got experience and hits big shots.
A young Ben Brust.
I'll take it. I'd like to think I was a little better. Dakota Mathias, he's a proven veteran, knows the system. Vince Edwards, Isaac Haas, Nogel Eastern. I always blank on the foreign guy that they got, this newcomer.
Harms or
Sasha or whatever.
Oh, Sasha Stefanovic, yeah.
Yeah, they have the pieces. So when I hear you talk about Michigan State, I don't disagree from anything you say, but a lot of what you say sounds like big jump. Like, he had this, he had that. Yeah. It's not proven yet. None of this from Michigan State has been proven that they have been to the top. So it's going to be a battle of experience versus the talent making the jump. But here's why I wouldn't bet against them not making the jump, because you have a coach like Tom Izzo who has done this year after year. And whether they win the Big Ten or not, I think, as always, they're going to be primed to make that run as they always do in March. So
let's start with Michigan State here. We're going to run through every team like a small amount. Like, when we get to Rutgers, we're not going to go crazy on Rutgers.
Court Sanders, that's all you got to say.
Court Sanders. So Michigan State, like I said, returns Miles Bridges, Cassius Winston, Josh Langford, Nick Ward. Like, that is the backbone of what was last year a top 5 recruiting class. The last time everyone from a top 5 recruiting class returned for their sophomore year was, I want to say, 2013's North Carolina recruiting class. I want to say that was the Harrison Barnes, maybe it was, that wasn't the Harrison Barnes class. It was
that was 12.
It was the Marcus Page, Bryce Johnson, what was it? Maybe Joel James, like that group, maybe 2012, yeah.
So, for me, they lose Aaron Harris, which is big from the wing spot. I think the one spot I'm most questionable is guard play. Is guard play for Michigan State. I think their front court is going to be very similar to a UNC type style, where there's going to be rotating bigs. And if Nick Ward happens to get in foul trouble, it's good to have a freshman like Jaren Jackson who, a top 25 consensus freshman, I'd say even top 10, where you're not going to be losing much on the front court. Let's see here. You got Goins is gonna stay on the floor a little bit more too. Tom Izzo was talking about he's made a big jump, and let's not forget about McQuaid. He wasn't healthy for the majority of last year. Interested to see if he can make the jump. So again, from a talent perspective, hands down the most talented team in the Big Ten. Miles Bridges, I don't see how he's not the most valuable player, and he's a unanimous, I think, All-American at this point. Other than that, I see them probably finishing 14-4, just because this is a deep league, and the coaches are too good in this league. They know each other way too well, where it'd be really hard for them to win over 14 games.
Yeah, so just to kind of put perspective on how loaded Michigan State's front court is. So you have Nick Ward, you have Jaren Jackson, who are two true big men. They're going to play Miles Bridges at the 4 pretty regularly, I would envision.
Sometimes at the 3, I imagine.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to play him at the 3 pretty regularly as well. But I'd imagine he'll split his time between the 3 and the 4. Past those three guys,
that's a scary front court with him at the 3.
Oh yeah, that is the best front court I think in college basketball. Then you throw in, you have Kenny Goins, you have Ben Carter, you have Gavin Schilling, right?
Forgot about Ben Carter and Gavin Schilling coming off of an injury.
So they have a kid in Xavier Tillman who was a consensus top 70 recruit this year, who is their 7th big man. What are we talking about here? It's insane.
Honestly, if I was Xavier Tillman, thinking about a redshirt isn't that stupid of an idea.
Oh, no, I think he should.
I don't think he will. Just because a lot of the times when you're it's hard for these bigger recruits to kind of put their ego aside and look what's best for him. But this could be what's best for him from a pro perspective too.
Yeah.
If you look at obviously a Frank Kaminsky didn't redshirt, but as a freshman he rarely played. Yeah. But he got to go against guys every day and develop the skill set that we now see today. And Tom Izzo made a joke in his press conference today in the Big Ten Media Day. He was saying it's really nice that I have so much depth this year that when I'm in practice, Nick Ward isn't just scoring every possession on a 6'5" walk-on.
I remember last year that was an issue.
Yeah, that will pay dividends to teams. I am all about if teams have depth and you don't see that depth necessarily show up in the stat sheet. In college basketball, it is so huge to have competitive practices because it gets your players better and primed for game situations more so than it would if you're going against the walk-ons, and that's just the fact of the matter.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Shout out to walk-ons because I do love you guys. It's just truth.
Yeah, you were 3 inches of height away from being a walk-on, probably.
Of being shorter?
Yeah, 3 inches shorter, you're a walk-on.
Yeah. I mean, there's no getting around it. A 5'11" 2-guard isn't gonna do anything but be on a scout team and wave some towels.
Yeah, no, I mean it's okay to say that. I think the walk-ons are great. I want all of them to have all of the success in the world.
Whether that be you're a lawyer or whatever. I say
whatever you're going pro in outside of basketball.
Yes. Is that? Please don't tell me NCAA is one of your sponsors.
No, the NCAA is probably a bit more adversarial to this podcast than a sponsor. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about that Purdue team because I do think they're really interesting.
Are we going to go in the order of which you think the Big Ten standings are going to finish?
No, the way that I do this podcast is I just kind of pick random teams that I think are interesting and start talking.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I like it.
We don't have any sort of
I just didn't know if you wanted to let our listeners know your rankings in this way of doing it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Let's go over rankings later because I just want to compare and contrast what you got versus me.
Yeah,
so let's stick with Purdue. We've already hit on basically their whole team. Experienced Matt Painter, I think, is a phenomenal coach.
How underrated is he nationally? I think he's an awesome coach.
Very underrated. I think where he's underrated is kind of to his own fault, is his inability to go far in the NCAA tournament. Whether or not it's fair or unfair to judge off your success of your NCAA tournament success, that's the sad reality of how these basketball coaches from a public perspective get judged, and specifically from the fan base. Because I know the Purdue fan base is really waiting for a run, because they're a passionate group. I see them on Twitter. They're chirpy. They don't like when they get talked down about. But this is a team that needs to make a run, I think, to at least the Sweet 16, but if not the Elite Eight, to get the attention that they deserve.
Well, you know what? Like, I think they need to do that, not only because, like, you know, Matt Painter needs to do that to kind of get the monkey off of his back a little bit. And I'm sure that, like, he would resent that. Like, I don't think he thinks of there being a monkey on his back. But from a public perspective, from a fan base perspective, you know, I do think that he needs to make a run like that. But this is, like, their chance over the course of the next probably 2 to 3 years to make a deeper run because of all of this senior leadership. Guys like P.J. Thompson, Dakota Mathias, Vince Edwards. Isaac Haas is a guy that I think is going to have to take a big step, and I don't know how much I believe in him. He's never played at least 50 minutes or 50% of Purdue's minutes in an entire season, just because he's been such a low-usage guy behind A.J. Hammonds, behind Caleb Swanigan, that it's just kind of hard to get a feel for if he's going to be able to stay on the floor enough.
I know, I definitely agree on Haas. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You know, you give him the ball in the post and give him his touches, he's going to produce. But I question his ability not to stay on the floor with like foul trouble, but just energy. It's so hard to move that big sized body up and down the floor. And you know, he's asked to do so much. He's going to be asked to do so much this year on the defensive end, because let's face it, Hammonds was huge for them defensively. If someone got beat, it's always good to have 7'2" AJ ready to block a shot.
Yeah.
I know I would appreciate that. I don't know if Haas can do that as well, so he's going to be forced to do a lot more and play a lot more minutes. And I think his efficiency will go down, even though he'll still put up good numbers.
Yeah, you know, I think I agree with that. Where I'm worried is defensively. Like, if teams just start to pull him away from the basket,
pick and roll.
Yeah, I don't really know like what their recourse for that is. They do have a ton of really good perimeter defenders. Like Dakota Mathias gets in your ass. Like Vince Edwards will really, really defend you. And
man, Vince Edwards is long, athletic. He is not a guy that I want guard me.
No, and like P.J. Thompson's feisty at the point of attack. Like there are actually a lot of like really solid defenders on this team. It's just, you know, I don't know what to think if they're going to be able to defend. And you know, the other thing that goes underrated is like Purdue has this reputation, it seems like over the last few years, of like a post team, like dump it into the post, dump it into Hammond, Swanigan, Haas, you know, let them try and go at it and try and post up the opposing team. This team was probably the best shooting team.
They can shoot the piss out of the ball
this year. They shoot the piss out of the ball.
100%. I don't think they're going to be getting a lot of 3-pointers from touching the post. You know, some teams are going to touch the post and use the post as a way to draw defenders to kick out to get threes.
Yeah.
I don't think Haas can do that. I think you give him the ball, he's going to make a play to score.
But you know what? That's something that Caleb Swanigan was really good at.
I completely agree, and I think for them to be successful, their motion offense is just you know, they're going to have to rely on that, because they can't rely on touching the post to get offense through that.
Yeah, I agree.
Wisconsin. I want to go to Wisconsin. You want to
go to Wisconsin now? Okay. So
because I don't know. This is like, I mean, I am completely stumped this year. I have them in my top 4 because they finished in the top 4 the last 16 years. So, you know what? Until they prove me wrong on that, I'm not going to be a fool and put them below that. Yeah. Although I am questioning their not ability to do it, but it's just a weird year. It's a weird year for Wisconsin. I practiced with the team the other day. I broke my toe. It's old age is happening to me. But I had a up close.
So you're like whenever college teams bring in like Trent Richardson to play football, like on the scout team, like that's you essentially.
Correct. Yeah. Very, very much so. And Joe Krabenoff is obviously an assistant who I'm sure you were watching maybe 1 year when you're at Ohio State. But he's already got me pegged to be the scout team scorer for his scout team, which will be so much fun because with the way Wisconsin does it is they do 30 possessions on defense and 30 possessions on offense. So when the defense comes, that's for the guys who play on the team. When the offense comes, I just do 30 straight possessions, and then I hit the showers.
Like, be honest here. What is the jump shot still looking like for you? Like, are we still talking like 40% from 3? Or are we still talking like, you know, like 32% now?
Oh, man, no. I think it's better, to be honest. It feels so much better, but you know why? Because I'm not in my own head, and I can just kind of like the way I was in high school. was I played in a fast-paced tempo. I really wasn't expected to play a lot of defense, so I was just able to go free range, shoot in transition, and I really did have to change my game a little bit when I went to Wisconsin. It's a different type system, but I went there because I wanted to win. So now that Josh Gosser, whose jokes, tells me Ben Curry. I mean, obviously I'm not Steph Curry, but like that's the stuff I love to do. And now that I'm out of college and just kind of can play in rhythm, come off screen, shoot 1-on-3 transition threes, like that's the stuff that I enjoy. And the shot's better right now, so the scout team better watch out, or the first team better watch out.
Oh my God! Yeah, let's talk about Wisconsin real quick. I don't know either. I mean, I do know that they have Ethan Happ, and Ethan Happ's really, really good at basketball.
That's the only no.
I think he's like a top 10 player in the country, to be honest. Just the way that he attacks the game with his motor, the way that he's such a threat inside, posting up. He creates shots really well. He's a good passer. He's going to be able to, I think, take a lot of the pressure off of the guards just through the way he can initiate offense.
As crazy as this may sound, I think, it's not going to sound that crazy because they didn't shoot well last year, but despite losing 4 seniors, this team's going to shoot the ball a lot better than they did last year. Nigel Hayes, obviously his jump shot is a whole other discussion I don't want to get into. Vito Brown didn't shoot it as well as he did as a junior. Showalter wasn't a shooter. He was just a, hit it when I'm open and the timing's right. And Koenig obviously was like a big playmaker.
Yeah, like you told me that you think Bronson's like one of the best shooters that like you've seen.
Yeah, I mean he can really shoot it. And if you look at, I think Andy Van Vliet, the guy from Belgium, I think at the 4 spot he's gonna be able to stretch the floor. Brad Davidson, I'm hearing a lot of good things and seeing a lot of good things. Kobe King can shoot. Those 2 freshmen are at the guard spots. They're gonna have to really step up, whether they start or come off the bench. They're going to have to produce, and they're going to have to grow up quick. I think that's really important for this team. Dimitri Trice, obviously as a freshman, it's different to play with that experienced group. He wasn't expected to do a lot. I think if he can just take care of the ball and not do too much, that's going to be better for this team. He's going to be forced to probably late shot clock make some plays, but he shouldn't be forcing it until then. He really should just run the show. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I
guess my question to you would be like, what perimeter guy do you feel most confident in right now?
I mean, I'm literally just looking at you, shaking my head.
Yeah, he has no idea.
I don't know. I don't think they know. I think there's a lot of potential between a lot of them. But when the lights go on, let's be honest, nobody on this team on the perimeter has proven anything on a consistent basis. So there's an opportunity there, and the way Wisconsin works is somebody usually steps up and takes it, and I'm really just intrigued because I know they have the ability and talent to. I'm excited to see who's going to step up and just be like, I'm that perimeter guy.
Yeah. So I'll say this. I think they're like a bubble team this year, like in terms of the NCAA tournament. I just don't have any sort of frame of reference to kind of
compare and contrast.
Prediction. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I completely agree.
Like, it's just really hard. Like, I feel good about what Ethan Happ is going to bring. I think Charlie Thomas is a big body inside who can help them at least.
Yeah, he's got the potential to help them. Again, there's so many guys who have now had the opportunity to step up, and it's do or die time now. Otherwise, it's your minutes are going elsewhere. Okay,
so before we end this Wisconsin discussion here, you and I were talking before the show, and I had forgotten that you in 2013 got knocked out at the NCAA tournament by Ole Miss. I want to talk to you about what it was like playing Marshall Henderson in an NCAA tournament game. So what was the exact experience of going against Marshall Henderson?
I've never fought anyone in my life, but I wanted to punch that guy in the face so badly because he just would not stop talking shit. He was obnoxious and annoying.
What is Marshall Henderson talking shit look like?
Shrugging the shoulders, like, man, I'm the can I give like an almost direct quote, like,
yeah, I don't care. I curse all the time on this podcast.
Fuck these guys, man. We got these, and then he'd throw a slur out there, and I'm just like, dude, shut up. I want to literally choke slam you into the ground. Chomp him. Like, he's just everything you think he is. And
it's everything I love about him.
I think the best part about it was his first year, he went to Iraq to play. I mean, nothing more fitting in the world.
I hope he just got banked to go to Iraq. That'd be amazing. You are moving right now. I am so confused.
I am moving. You know, I said I was in the office.
Yeah, moving
my
to
brother
patches?
got in. Yeah, I'm moving to my car.
Oh wow, that's a big call.
Ugh.
While Ben is moving to his car, let's go on ahead and get a sponsor in. This episode is sponsored by Greats, makers of the all-time greats, classic, stylish, and comfortable sneakers sold at a great price. Greats is Brooklyn's first sneaker company. They sell all the greats, classic styles, made the best for less. They have a wide selection of women's and men's shoes, versatile styles, suitable for any occasion. There are a ton of different colors, a ton of materials to choose from. Their best sellers include the all-leather Royale lace-up and Worcester slip-ons. They sent me a pair of these shoes. They are comfortable. They are stylish. They are all white. I'm a big fan of all-white sneakers. I'm wearing all-white Ultra Boosts right now. I think they are terrific. Maybe not as good as the greats, though. You can check these out along with lots of other great styles at greats.com. And we've got a special deal for our audience as Ben is out in the wilderness right now. Save 15% on your first order with our offer code GAMETHEORY. That's GAMETHEORY. Go to greats.com. That's GREATS.com. And be sure to enter Game Theory to save 15% at checkout. Greats also believe so much in their shoes, they offer a no-risk return and exchange policy to guarantee that you get the right fit in a style you love. That's greats.com, and use our code GAMETHEORY to save 15%. Thanks to Greats for sponsoring the show. Let's talk about Ben's favorite team in the Big Ten outside of Wisconsin, Minnesota. Just the Golden Gophers, who I guess that it's kind of a rivalry, right?
Yeah.
It's like a fake basketball rivalry, right?
Yeah, it's more so like a state hate. There's just something between the states with Vikings, Packers, with Minnesota, Wisconsin football. We win the Axe every year. We think we've won like 14 straight times against them. And basketball's picked up a little bit too. The quote unquote border battle. We call them the safety school. But I'm actually high on them this year. I think their team's really equipped to make some noise. I just said make some noise. With Isaiah Washington coming in, I think he can add a dimension that they don't have. Obviously, Amir Coffey and Nate Mason are the two guys that are highlighted right now. But I think the most important player on this team, or almost most valuable, would be Reggie Lynch.
Yeah, he's a really underrated guy just because he's so good defensively.
Yes, like the length he brings, and on defense, he runs the floor. He does a lot of things that help teams win. Mm-hmm. And I'm really interested to see if they can follow up on. They had a good year last year. I'm a guy where you got to show me before I believe it. Yeah, and that's kind of where, obviously, with my thoughts with Michigan State, they haven't shown me with the roster that they have that they're going to be the best team. And the same goes for Minnesota. Minnesota basketball has never shown me that they can take that next step into the top three of the Big Ten and make a Sweet 16 run. I haven't seen that where I'm still waiting to believe it.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to a coach, of a team that is ranked, but most people are ranking them below Minnesota. And he goes, yeah, I would love to play Minnesota. They just haven't shown us anything yet. They had a great year last year. A lot of people thought it was a surprise year. I didn't really think that. I thought they were really good, coming into the year, and I thought they had a chance to make the tournament. But, they have a guy, Nate Mason, who's a really good two-way player who's just hasn't been efficient enough as a point guard yet. I think that, everyone expects him to be more than he's been so far. Almost this year. I get that he averages 15 and 5, and I guess he doesn't turn the ball over all that much, which is really good, but he turns it over via his inefficient shooting a lot of the time. Yeah,
there's always been a lot of hype surrounding Nate Mason, and like you said, his turnovers come from bad shots that lead to a break for the other team, and that to me is almost worse than a turnover, because if you're turning it over by traveling or throwing it away out of bounds or whatever, that's different than a bad shot that leads to a breakout that always leads to something bad on the other end.
Yeah.
They lose Akeem Springs, which is a big loss. It's not a huge loss.
Yeah.
But like I said, they bring in a top 100 recruit that can easily step in and take those minutes and be just as productive.
Yeah, you know what worries me about this team? It is just generally the shooting. They're going to be really good defensively. Like, whenever you have Reggie Lynch inside, you're going to be fine. Konate's fine as like a backup for Lynch to at least provide a rim protector.
Did you watch them a lot last year?
I did. I watched them a decent amount.
They all have the same haircut. They all look the same out there. It's
They
absolutely
do.
insane.
They do. And like, well, I mean, it's funny coming from the goddamn buzz cuts of Wisconsin, having the same haircut, talking about Minnesota having the same haircut.
Trust me, my family couldn't even find me on the floor half the time.
Oh, you and Gosser got mixed up so often.
All the time. We still do.
You guys, like, kind of look a little bit alike. Like, not really, though.
No, it's just, two relatively close in height.
Yeah, two
same
6'2",
skin
6'3"
color.
white guys.
Yeah.
What
you do?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Amir Coffey. I like all of the dimensions that he can bring. He really handles it, really passes it. Was a little bit better as a shooter last year than I thought. He needs to take another leap, though, there this year. The only shooter they have, though, on this roster who's proven is Dupree McBrayer.
Mm-hmm.
And that scares me just in terms of them consistently getting efficient offense whenever I'm not entirely sure they have like a game breaker off the dribble yet. Like Nate Mason can get shots, but he doesn't really make the shots enough. Amir Coffey isn't really explosive.
A shot taker versus shot maker.
Right. Like, they need to show me that they can consistently get consistent offense, at least, through the run of play or through getting out and transition a little bit more or whatever they can do. And maybe Isaiah Washington is a big help there. I think that's entirely possible. But I need to see a little bit more from them. I had them, I think, like top 15 in my preseason poll whenever I submitted that. And I think I'm way wrong now. Like,
Did you have Purdue below them?
I had Purdue like 2 spots below them. And like, the more I did research on it, I was like, it was like submitted like kind of before I did like all of the research I needed, and
just kind of like a way too early to predict type rankings.
Yeah, and then I looked at it and I was like, why do I trust this Minnesota team more than I trust Purdue? And I looked at it and I was like, I don't know,
Yeah. We all have those teams that we're like, oh yeah, I'm high on them this year. And then you really look at the landscape and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm on a wait and see mode now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going back to what you said about like the coaches say, oh yeah, like we'd love to play Minnesota, right? Like, what are some teams, like, do you think that even though they may not be as good talent-wise, that you wouldn't want to play? Is that like a Wisconsin, like a program like Michigan, a program like Maryland?
Oh, yeah, I would not want to play Michigan this year. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I think Michigan.
Okay, let's just jump right in it because I think we're done with Minnesota anyway.
We're definitely done with Minnesota. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be an NCAA tournament team again. I just don't know exactly how good yet. Michigan brings in 2 really good kids that I think are going to make a difference. They're going to bring in Jerron Simmons as a point guard. He averaged like 6 assists a game last year at Ohio. Kind of a prototypical pick-and-roll playmaker for John Beilein's offense. They also bring in Charles Matthews, who's going to have a year of developing under that John Beilein umbrella where he teaches everyone to shoot and he teaches them how to play efficient offensive basketball. Charles Matthews he has all of the athletic talent that any human being could ever ask for in the world. If Beilein has given him more skill or they've helped him develop more skill, I think that like he has a chance to be like an all Big Ten level player. Like he's really, really talented.
Wow.
Really? I don't know about that this year maybe, but like I think that's where his ceiling is during his time at Michigan. They do lose Zach Irvin. They lose Derek Walton. They lose DJ Wilson. But they just bring in a lot, and I think that keeping Mo Wagner around, they have 6'8" white dude shooter Duncan Robinson. They have a lot of pieces that I think are pretty good.
Muhammad Ali Abdul Rahman's not a bad player either.
Rahman's fine too. Yeah, like I think that they have a lot of the pieces that John Beilein teams tend to be successful with, right? Like those wings,
I see them finishing 5th or 6th in the Big Ten and making the tournament.
I think they might be a little bit better than that. I think
really.
they might be like an end of the top 25 team.
I'm not buying that just yet. I would need to see Charles Matthews play and produce a little more before I put all my chips on that.
Like, I don't know that I'm putting all my chips on it, but like
I have their system. Like, I have their proven system now. I have Beeline's offensive efficiency pretty much carrying this team into the 5th, 6th spot.
Yeah, like I think that I just trust John Beeline's system to get the most out of these guys at this stage. So, you look at their top 7 is what? Simmons, Xavier Simpson, Abdur Rahman, Charles Matthews, Duncan Robinson, Mo Wagner, and maybe E.B. Watson or like one of the freshmen. Right, like as long as those guys kind of come through, I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, but see, like I look down at my notes here and I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, I hear you, and then I look over and I think Iowa's going to have a decent year. Maryland's not terrible. Like there's just so many teams. I think maybe they can finish top 4 because there might be a 6-way tie for 4th this year because there's so many teams that can beat each other this year. I even look further down the list. I think Penn State is going to be competitive this year.
I agree. We'll get there in a second, but let's talk about Northwestern because they're like, I think they
might. We haven't talked about them,
right? Like I think they're like the next team like in this tier. They're definitely considered by most to be a bit ahead of Michigan right now. I'm not as sold on Northwestern as I think a lot of people generally are right now. I don't really understand the like 100% appeal of this group. Bryant McIntosh is fine. Like he's not like this amazing. Like I think that he's getting credit as like a top like 10 point guard in college basketball, and I don't even think I'm like close to that on him.
Okay, I just want to know. Can you give me some specifics? Why?
Why I don't think he's a top 10 point guard?
Yeah. Or like why you're not as high on him and high, like because to me he's the catalyst of this team and they go as he goes with them.
Yeah, and I mean they had like a top 60 offense in the country last year because he was an inefficient shooter who turned the ball over like more than what people think he turned the ball over. Like if you look at it on a per possession basis, like his turnover rate was like 17%. Like that's not a great like low turnover point guard that I think he gets credit for being. He gets credit as like this awesome shooter. He hit 30% of his threes last year. Like, I think that like he's just getting a lot of leadership credit, which I think is 100% deserved. He's the guy that has brought this program back. He's kind of like Midwest Jordan McLaughlin, right? Like Jordan McLaughlin is USC's guy. Like he brought USC back. Like, he was Andy Enfield and that staff's first recruit.
Yep.
They think of him as, like, their team leader, their heart and soul. I think Bryant McIntosh is Midwest Jordan McLaughlin. And I don't know if he's even as good as Jordan.
So, I have very big question mark around their front court. Their front court, I don't even see anyone where I'm like, oh, yeah, like, I forgot about him, or, oh, he's going to have a big year.
Well, the good thing for them is they bring back Falzon, like the stretch 4.
Yeah, no, the lefty. Last year. Or they have what's the lefty's name? I always blank on his name. Derek Parton. Yeah, I'm not a huge believer in him. I think he's a good piece for them, but they need someone. They need someone more dominant in the post. Yeah. Vic Law, Scotty Lindsey, Bryant McIntosh. They're going to go as those 3 go. Yeah. I think those 3 have to for them to finish in the top 3. And again, this is one where I bought them. Probably a little too early and a little too high, where I'm kind of shifting around in my head where I'm going to put some people. If they average each in double figures around 12 to 16 points, this team could finish in the top 5. But again, there's so much depth, and I'm going to believe it when I see it. I wasn't even convinced they were going to make the tournament last year, even after they beat Michigan on that buzzer beater. Yeah. If they would have lost in the first round to Maryland in the Big Ten tournament, to me, there was no guarantee that they were going to make it. That was just me personally, and it showed by their seed. Even though they lost to Wisconsin in the semis, if they lose to Maryland in the quarters of the Big Ten tournament, I don't even know if they make the tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you. Scotty Lindsey is an incredible player. I think he's one of the more underrated players nationally in college basketball. We're talking about a guy where he can create his own offense and he can do it relatively efficiently at times. He gets to the foul line a decent amount. He knocks down his free throws. He can get into the lane really easily. I like the way that he creates offense from the wing. I think Vic Law is one of the better two-way players in all of college basketball. I'm just not, like, I look at Michigan, and I think Michigan's more talented. Like, I think Mo Wagner is better than any player on this team. I think that, Charles Matthews is probably a little bit more talented than any player on this team. Like,
I got to play the wait and see game. I don't know enough about Charles Matthews, but I would say, if Scotty Lindsey, was a pretty efficient.
Yeah, Scotty Lindsey's good. Like,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, he is a good player. And Bryant McIntosh is a good player. But there's just a lot of good players. I don't see game breakers on this roster.
Yeah, I think what really is going to help Northwestern is if Coach Collins can just keep developing into a really good college head coach.
Yeah.
He's taken the first step in getting this team to the tournament, but can he, lead this team to take the next jump into being something more than that?
Yeah. I think that they're a tournament team. Like, I kind of just shit on them for, like, 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. But, like, I'm just not quite as, like, universally in on them as I think a lot of people are.
Fair enough. Maybe it was just you being so strong on ripping them for that 2 minutes that I kind of backed off where I had them. But I don't know. I keep talking myself back into buying them for some reason. So we'll see. After this, actually, while we keep going, I'm gonna make sure I got my rankings where I want them to be before we reveal them later.
Okay. So we got Maryland here now next. The seemingly interminable Melo Trimble era has ended. Despite him leaving for the NBA early somehow. I don't know how that happened. But
I don't know. And they lose to Monte Dodd too. To me, they're going to finish 7th or 8th. Mostly because there's just too much depth and there's too much good coaching, and they're still too young. They're a little too young. I'm high on the 3 freshmen, Justin Jackson, Anthony Cohen, and Kevin Herter.
Yeah, the sophomores this year.
The sophomore, the trio of sophomores. What happens sophomore year? 1 or 2 of them is going to have a bad year. It's just the reality. The sophomore slump's inevitable for 1 or 2 of them. Doesn't mean they're a bad team still. They bring in a really good freshman in Bruno Fernando.
Yeah.
Intriguing team, but again, I just talked about their core there, and I talked about their core versus other cores I'm thinking of, and I don't see them going past the top 6.
Yeah, so you mentioned that core of sophomores now, and Kevin Horter, Justin Jackson, Anthony Cowan. I think they're all going to be good players. And something I wanted to bring up to you is this, because I find it interesting in light of what you just said, that you think that some people are going to maybe hit that sophomore wall. You talk to coaches, and coaches will tell you there's no gains greater than the summer between your freshman and sophomore year. Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of rectify those two things? Because, on one hand, you can just hit a sophomore wall just because, teams have scouted you. They know your tendencies now. They know what's coming from you. But you also just get a lot better from getting bigger, stronger, and getting under like an actual nutrition program and like a actual weightlifting program for the first time in your life.
So this is one that's really hard to explain because your body goes through changes, right? You like you said, you get stronger. Yeah. You have experience from the year before, but you're taking on more responsibility, right? Yeah. When you make that jump and, all eyes are on you and it's on you and you're a sophomore, these 3 are sophomores and they're the leaders, that's a lot of pressure for a 19 to 20-year-old to take on. So that's where I think the sophomore slump comes in. It's not that they didn't make gains and get their game better and get better physically. It's more of a mental thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, I think that's actually a really great way to explain it. I'm glad that you did that. Bruno Fernando, a guy that's been around the recruiting scene forever. He's going to be a really good center, I think, for them. Like, he's probably
exactly what they need
to start, I guess.
Yeah.
I believe Sean Obi is also a human that exists, the transfer from Duke who initially played at, I want to say, was it Tulane or Rice? I can't remember.
I think Tulane.
Yeah. He's fine. I think he'll at least provide a body inside, even though he didn't do anything at Duke after transferring there. Jared Nickens is a guy that I've always been interested in, just like as a big 6'7" shooter, but it hasn't worked out for him at all. So
he's had more fame on social media than on the court.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. Maryland, though, I think bubble team. We'll see how the sophomores kind of develop. Iowa, I think, is a team that, like you mentioned, has been a little bit under the radar coming into this year. They don't have any incredible freshmen coming in, but they have an awesome sophomore class returning that I think is going to really help them, led by Tyler Cook and Jordan Bohannon.
Yeah, and Isaiah Moss brings something to that team too. Nicholas Baer. I think for a team like Iowa, what I like from them is they went on a foreign tour. I am a big advocate of going on these foreign tours when you have a young team, because not just because you get to play and compete overseas, but you get the extra court time in the summer, and that's invaluable. In 2014, we had that. I was pissed where we went. We went to frickin' Canada.
What was there to do in Canada while you were there?
Nothing. It felt like we were in America. We went to Niagara Falls. Cool. You can do that when you live in New York.
Go to Australia, for God's sake.
They went to Australia this year, and we went to Canada. But I guess the moral of the story is...
they hate Ben Brust and just wanted to have him suffer.
All the good things happen after I left. We go to the Final Four, they get new locker rooms, they get more gear, they get Under Armour, they get this, they get that.
So much salt. Just so much salt.
I am just, pouring sweat and salty sweat right now.
So Tyler Cook, I think, is a really, really good player. I'm a big fan of his game. I think, another potential all Big Ten level player this year. Jordan Bohannon was on the Bob Cousy list coming into this year.
Already? I'm a Jordan Bohannon fan, but he played at the end of the day, he played like a freshman last year. He didn't shoot high percentages. He turned it over, but he hit some big shots, and so he got away with the mistakes he made.
Yeah. He averaged, I think, 9 and 5 last year. Good solid point guard for a freshman year. He needs to take that next step, though.
Agree, 100%. Otherwise, he'll just be another one of those Iowa good guards who, scored 12 to 13 points, but shot, 35% from three. You know what I mean? He needs to be more efficient.
He's a shooter for sure, though.
Yeah, he can shoot it, but he's a volume shooter right now. He needs to be more efficient with that volume. I think for this team and for Jordan Bohannon specifically, he's got to average, I think, 12 and 6 is fine, just an efficient 12 and 6.
Yeah, he hit 42% from three last year, where his issue was he hit 32% of his twos.
So I was flip-flopped on that.
That is crazy to me that someone would hit 32% of their twos in a season. Cordell Pemsel, the other big guy that played next to Tyler Cook occasionally, kind of replaced him when Cook was injured. A good player again, good offensive rebounder, block shots. He's at least another big body that was a freshman last year. They
returned 75% of their scoring despite losing Peter Jock.
Yeah, Peter Jock's the only thing that they lose, I think. So good team. I think another potential NCAA tournament team. We'll see beyond that though. Where do you want to go next in the Big Ten? Because
I was looking at that.
I think we
should go to the bottom two and just get those out of the way.
Okay, so Rutgers, I think, is certainly the bottom. Corey Sanders is good.
And Nebraska.
I think Peichel is kind of doing a decent job.
He's trying to create a buzz. He's trying to recruit. He's trying to do all the right things to turn the program around. But I still don't see it this year. They just don't have enough.
Yeah, he's brought in some decent transfers, Deshaun Freeman.
Suf Mensa or whatever. What's his name?
Who?
I can't even say
yeah. The JUCO kid. Now that you say that,
yeah. Deshaun Freeman for sure. They lose Nigel Johnson to transfer, which really kind of hurt.
Yeah,
that's where I was okay, if Nigel Johnson stays, they have enough talent to maybe take a jump. From the jump to the tippy top of to the low part of the pool to a little bit higher.
To winning 6 games in the league.
Yes, which again would be a success.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't know. Corey Sanders has to be more efficient though, too.
Yeah, he does. It's hard. It's so hard with guys like that on bad teams because
he's forced to do everything and make every big shot and make every play in order for them to stay in games.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if they want to make the jump to the 6 wins, he's got to be more efficient.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're just going to hopefully 4 games. I think they win 4. I think they should be okay with that. I think the second worst team is Ohio State.
Really?
Yes.
Your Buckeyes.
I think that they are not going to be good this year. Andrew Dockich was a walk-on at Michigan and is going to play actual minutes.
I think Nebraska could be worse.
Nebraska might be worse, but I like Glenn Watson more than I like anyone on the Ohio State roster.
Jayshawn Tate competes.
He tries real hard.
He competes.
Yeah, he competes. I will give you that he competes.
Job. I mean,
they do bring back Keita. That's a big thing. Them getting back Keita is a big help.
I'm not putting them below Nebraska or Rutgers yet.
No, I don't think they're below Rutgers, but like I said,
they're not good though.
Like C.J. Jackson and Andrew Dockich are their point guards this year.
Yeah, are you going to watch a lot of Ohio State basketball?
No, I do not want abject sadness in my life. That's just not something I enjoy. They do get Kyle Young, which was
where will you get your happiness outside of Ohio State basketball this year?
Ohio State football.
What about pro sports? You're a Penguins guy, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of happiness out of the Penguins. So, I will enjoy watching Penguins games instead of Ohio State basketball games. I'll watch Australian football season is over. My girlfriend is from Melbourne. I watch a lot of that. Once April rolls around next year, instead of watching Ohio State in the NCAA tournament in the Final Four, I'll watch Australian football and get my enjoyment out of that.
Very odd. You're the first person I've ever heard tell me that they get enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, when your girlfriend's uncle played for one of the best clubs in the entire competition, you just kind of pick it up. And,
just kind of embrace it at that point.
Huh?
Just kind of embrace it at that point.
Yeah, you just got to do it. So Nebraska, you mentioned that you don't think they're going to be very good. I just like Glenn Watson a lot. I think that Isaac Copeland kind of could be okay. Thomas Allen's a
4-star. At least they got
freshman.
him.
Yeah, really useful. Isaiah Roby was a guy that I kind of sneaky liked. Nana Kenton is a guy that I sneaky liked coming out of high school.
Sounds like you like Nebraska more than Northwestern.
Expectations are the key here, I think.
I know. Just the way you're talking about them right now, it's just kind of funny.
Your tone is better. Northwestern is going to win twice as many games as Nebraska.
I give you shit.
But no, I think that they're fun. I think Nebraska wins 6 or 7 games in the Big Ten this year. I'm not crazy high on them.
No, I think they win 4 games and Tim Miles is canned.
Yeah, I think even if they win 6 or 7, Tim Miles might unfortunately get the axe.
Yeah, it's just after his good year in 2014, the expectations were set really high and they've just plummeted since then.
Yeah, it's hard. Illinois, let's move on to them. Illinois, I have a lot more faith in Brad Underwood than maybe all but 2 or 3 coaches in the entire Big Ten. I think that he is genuinely one of the top 10 to 15 coaches in college basketball.
No, dude, he in 4 seasons he's got 104 wins.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Do you think he gets 20 wins this year?
Maybe. I don't think they make the NCAA tournament.
No. I got him at 18 and 15 or something like that.
Yeah. I don't think that they can make that next leap yet, but Mark Smith is a really, really good freshman that they get. Mark Allstork is, he scored 19 points a game last year at Wright State.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, for them to have the 2 marks, at least they have guys who can, put the ball in the basket and do some things. Yeah. So they're not, if they didn't get Allstork, woof, this team would have been bad. LeRon Black isn't bad either, though.
Yeah, I think that you're kind of right. LeRon Black is going to be kind of useful for them. Finke is still there. They have Kipper Nichols, who might be a useful piece at least. I don't know that there's just enough here for an NCAA tournament berth, even though, I trust Brad Underwood, more than I trust probably all but 10 coaches in college basketball. He's unbelievable on the offensive end. But this was the absolute home run hire of all home run hires. I just don't know necessarily what to think yet on this year.
I'm with you there. I'm sold on Underwood. I don't know about this roster for him this year. He's good with good guards. I mean, obviously, Jawan Evans was able to do good things. So I think because of his experience with good guards, having Mark Smith and Mark Allstork, we need a clever nickname for the Marks. I don't like just the Marks. We need something really, really clever.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
I love it. That's why I knew I could ask you Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, because the Funky Bunch is the rest of the bunch. Losing Malcolm Hill, Maverick Morgan, Tracy Abrams, Coleman Lands. Like,
was Tracy Abrams still there? Like, was Tracy Abrams a junior while you were still in college?
I think I played Tracy Abrams like 2 years in college. Yeah, isn't that crazy? He was definitely on the like, how are they still in college list team.
Yeah, shout out Stillman White. I was very disappointed. I tried to put in a Stillman White joke into our like roster previews for The Athletic, and like one of our things is key departures, right? I have to put like key departures at the end of every chart that I make.
You dick.
And I put Stillman White graduated finally, and they were like, "No, you can't. We probably should."
Come on! I forgot to congratulate you, by the way. But I can see. Nice to see you're still the same and doing that for The Athletic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I try not to take things super seriously. I'm about as capital J journalist as you are. I would say.
I don't even know if I'm considered a journalist at this point.
I don't know if I am either.
Yeah, right.
Let's go ahead.
So yeah, that's enough of Illinois. I think we both are in agreement there.
Yeah.
And then
Penn State.
The last two we have are Penn State and Indiana.
Like Penn State is a sneaky like maybe tournament team.
Sneaky maybe. Still have doubts because of the depth of the Big Ten, and still have doubts because Chambers is just. He hasn't. Was Chambers the coach when they went in 2011? No, he wasn't.
No.
Yeah, so. He hasn't made the NCAA tournament yet. So again, I'm on the team see it, believe it with Penn State here. You got Tony Carr. He's going to be the guy that drives this train. Shep Gardner needs to be a little more consistent, and I really like the other freshmen as well that will now be sophomores, Lamar Stevens and Mike Watkins.
Big fan of both of them.
Even Josh Reeves, like he comes off the bench and has length and creates havoc defensively.
Yep.
I like this team. I'm intrigued by them, but do they know how to win yet? I don't know. Is Chambers going to be able to make them take the next jump to the top 8 and maybe make the NCAA tournament? Yet to be seen, but they have the potential to do it. I think they have the talent to do it. They've recruited outside the Philly area, got these guys.
Yeah.
Lose Peyton Banks. He transferred, correct?
Yeah.
But still, I like the pieces that they have.
So yeah, I like the pieces they have too. I just have like an internal disdain for Penn State in general. Like I'm from Pittsburgh. I went to Ohio State. Like I don't want to root for this team. Like I don't want this team to enjoy happiness. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
I know exactly what you mean. Like that's just the way it goes. When everyone has those teams where whether you went to school at or by or you grew up a fan of and they were a rival of. There's always a couple teams where you don't want them to do well, even if you think they're set up for a little bit of success.
Yeah, like when I went
for
to
me,
Penn
that's
State.
when
I went to Penn State, like for an Ohio State game, whenever they won, I think DeVere Posey caught like a late touchdown. I had like one of the best times of my life. It was super enjoyable. That stadium was awesome, and Ohio State won, which was the best part of it.
Nothing better
than that, to go into a like 100,000 seat arena, or I guess stadium in this case, and seeing your team win on the road. It's great. I just don't want this team to feel happiness, but as to put on my capital J journalist hat that we just talked about, this team's good. This team's talented. Maybe a year away from an NCAA tournament run, but they're gonna beat some teams this year. Like they're gonna beat Minnesota once. They're gonna beat like a Michigan State, like at home or something like that. If they play Michigan State at home, I have no idea what the schedules look like.
They'll catch some people at home, not only because they're talented, but because that is the worst trip in the Big Ten to go to play in that stadium, to go to Happy Valley. It's the worst trip in the Big Ten.
Is it really?
Yes. I didn't go to Rutgers or Maryland. I imagine going to Maryland was fun. Can't imagine going to Rutgers is very fun. But here's why going to Rutgers would be better, because Rutgers has just stunk, right? Like you would know you're going to beat Rutgers, even though they didn't when Frank got hurt that one year. That was just a weird, bizarre anomaly.
Yeah.
But you look at Penn State, and you look at a team that doesn't normally like they're not the worst team in the Big Ten, but they're not good either. So it's just a major trap game. It's the worst hotel. The stadium's never filled. It's usually an 11 a.m. game on a Saturday, and you're like, oh, this is a wait. Like, I don't want to be here right now. I just want to win and go home. And then you end up having to go to overtime or battle until the last minute of the game before you go home with a victory, or sometimes catch an L.
Well, there's that part of it too, and then there's the part that, like, I don't know, like, if people have been to Penn State or not, but it's like in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's nothing around this college campus. It's just a campus.
The football stadium's surrounded by nothing.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, it's the weirdest place I've been to. It's like a cult.
It's definitely a weird place. I mean, my sophomore year, we were playing them right when the Joe Pa stuff came out, and like there were people gathered around a statue. The whole thing was just bizarre.
I'm not going to the Joe Pa stuff because I don't. You know,
why not? Let's go there.
I enjoy my job. I'm gonna stay away from that. But
okay, fair enough. I should probably plead the fifth now too, if you know what I'm talking about.
Nonetheless, though, it's just a weird vibe in that place. They're a good team, though. Tony Carr, I think, can take a big leap forward. I'm a big fan of Lamar Stevens, like you said. I think Mike Watkins might be the most like underrated rim protector in college basketball. Like, no one knows who he is, but blocks a ton of shots and, you know, affects a lot of shots inside. Really, really useful player. Really, really good team, I think, that is going to catch a lot of guys this year that maybe aren't suspecting it.
Agree. They're not a team like they're a team that you're going to look at the schedule and be like, okay, good. Like, we just played Michigan State and Purdue. Now we got to go to, we got Penn State at home. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And that's not a team that you want to overlook this year.
Yeah, I agree. The last team, shout out my man Tom Crean. You know, he had to leave so that, you know.
I had my fun with Tom Crean. I really did. I beat him as a college player, I think, like 80% of the time. And then I had fun with him on Twitter. Like, just, you know, I always had, like, my favorite thing to do after Indiana lost was search Crean on Twitter, and it would just give me entertainment for days. That being said, I've been brought to a new light thanks to those PMT boys. I mean, and you know, coaches are different when they're coaching versus when they're off the court. So it was kind of cool to see him in that light, even though I was not a fan of him as a coach and his demeanor out there.
Yeah, you know, like, I've gotten a chance to talk to him a little bit. Like, I've gotten, you know, we don't have, like, an awesome relationship, but, like, we'll talk and, like, we'll, you know, kind of go back and forth on some stuff occasionally. And he's a really nice guy. Like, really, really nice guy. And, you know, for anyone who works in the media who listens to this, like, he 100% reads your work. Like, he reads everything that people write about him, and I think that sometimes it can be to his fault a little bit, just because, you know, sometimes you let stuff like that get into your own head. And
I hope he listens to this and hears what you just said, what his fault is.
I don't know. Like, it's something that, like, I think I've told him that before. Like, I don't think it's something I'm keeping a secret.
No.
Like, it's
no, I know. I'm just like with coaches, they put on a face, and like to the team, they're like, I don't read this, I don't read that, I don't know who we play next, I just focus on this. They focus on everything. It's their job to be in the know and to know everything that's going on.
Okay, let me be honest here. I would have never guessed that Bo Ryan read a single thing anyone read about him.
So he would claim,
about him, sorry.
He would claim that. I don't know if he does or doesn't, but he would claim that, and then like the next day he'd be like he'd reference something that you would only know if you read X, Y, or Z. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know if you're telling the truth.
So yeah, like, I've been outspoken on my enjoyment of Tom Crean on this podcast before, but now it's the Archie Miller era. Has brought in a pretty good recruiting class already. Clifton Moore is a really sneaky, like, underrated prospect who I think is going to play a role this year. Race Thompson's like a stretch 4 shooter who's useful. Already have like an awesome recruiting class for next year with Demezy Anderson, Jerome Hunter, and Jake Forrester. Like, he's done a really good job really quickly of getting kids in that I think are going to fit his system. This year, you know, probably going to win like 8 games in the Big Ten. Maybe
10th or 11th in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think maybe even a touch higher than that. But like, like the ceiling, it feels like is probably like 7th. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the ceiling's definitely not the roof for them.
The ceiling is not the roof. Robert Johnson, like, might be their best player. Maybe Juwan Morgan is their best player. So, like, that's kind of what you're talking about here. Colin Hartman will get back. He's a shooter at least. Deron Davis is a body inside who can score. Devontae Green and Curtis Jones are creators at least, and they can help kind of maybe stem the tide for Josh Newkirk, who was not a great transfer to take, I didn't think. I don't know. Like, this team, I trust in Archie Miller to get the most out of them defensively. I just don't know if I see, anything like an NCAA tournament berth in year 1.
No, they lose too much, like, talent. They need talent. They're going to have players that can produce enough to get by, but they don't have enough talent to win in this Big Ten.
Yeah, and they were 104th in defensive efficiency last year. They do lose Thomas Bryant and James Blackman. Archie Miller is going to get them to play that really strong pack line defense. They're going to really have to commit on the defensive end, or else they're just not going to play.
They're gonna have to ugly these games up, and it's gonna be different. Like Indiana fans, it's going to be much different than Crean's way of basketball.
Yeah. I'm interested. I think that like Juwan Morgan and Deron Davis are really good Archie Miller players. Clifton Moore, same deal, like a very Archie Miller, multi-skilled, multifaceted player as a big man, but I'm just not sure it's going to happen in year 1, and that's fine.
Do you see Justin Smith producing a lot for this team?
I honestly don't know enough about him as a player. He's one of my blind spots in this class. I have every year I probably have 10 top 100 kids that are blind spots, and Justin Smith is one of those blind spots this year.
Fair enough. I volunteered for a high school team last year and had the opportunity to play against him. Freak athlete, strong body. Played in a system where it's defensive minded, so I was just wondering if you were going to agree with my assessment that he fits the Archie Miller player, even though he wasn't recruited for Archie Miller.
Yeah, no. So I know of his style of game. I just don't, I don't know if I can comment on just knowing what he can do. One of those deals.
Fair enough. And
that's it, man.
Let's quickly run through your Big Ten standings.
Oh boy, Michigan State, probably Purdue, Minnesota. I'm gonna say Northwestern, then Michigan. I guess I just have I guess that Northwestern's proven it, whereas Michigan hasn't yet. Man, beyond that, maybe Iowa next at 6, and then let's see, who am I missing? Maryland at 7, Illinois at 8, Indiana 9.
Wisconsin, you missed.
Oh, I missed Wisconsin. So bump everyone down. I'd say Wisconsin 6th or 7th. I think this is going to be a down year. And then what? I think Iowa finishes ahead of Wisconsin, which is very painful for you, I know.
That hurts.
So I'd say Iowa 7. Wisconsin 7. Maryland 8. Illinois 9. Indiana 10. Penn State 11. Nebraska 12. Ohio State 13, Rutgers 14.
Okay. All right, I am from 6 down, I'm confident. My top 5, I'm just kind of going with something different. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm sticking with Purdue based off the experience, and
man,
is that crazy?
That's a take. Michigan State might be number 1 entering the year.
I hear ya. But Purdue won the Big Ten title last year, and they bring back everyone except one piece. I am going to stick with that.
That one piece was pretty good, right?
That one piece was pretty good, but you still have everyone else coming back.
They do.
Who weren't scrubs.
It's 100% true.
And Painter can get it done. He's proven he can get it done. So I'm sticking with it. Hopefully I look like an idiot, or hopefully I don't, rather. Purdue, Michigan State. Man, you may have you swapped two teams for me after talking through this. You swapped. I was going to buy Northwestern at 3, but that seems foolish at this point.
Purdue, I don't think it's unfair to pick Northwestern at 3.
It's not. But I don't know. Am I buying it enough to do it? I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm not going to let you bully me out of this. Purdue, Michigan State, Northwestern, Wisconsin 4 because I'm sticking with Wisconsin at 4 until they prove me that they're not going to finish the top 4. Minnesota 5, Michigan 6, Iowa 7, Maryland 8, Penn State 9, Indiana 10, Illinois 11, Ohio State 12, Rutgers 13, Nebraska 14. I feel really good about 6 through 14.
So it's hard for me to feel good about teams that aren't amazing. You know what I mean? Like those teams are just like, I think that if you pick Penn State anywhere from 11th to, I think you could say like 7th, maybe even like 6th, if you really believe in the talent on that roster, I wouldn't call you crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just want to see this year if, like, with these picks, if each of those teams finishes within 1 plus or minus up or down, then I think I really feel good like that's going to happen with my teams. Yeah. There's not going to be one. There's not going to be one where I was like, "Oh, you missed it by a long shot."
No, I don't think that. I'm trying to think. Like, is there a chance? Like Iowa takes a massive leap. You know what I mean? Like, I think that Iowa could be really good. I think Michigan could be really good. Like, I think that one of these random middle teams is gonna end up in the top 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You like Michigan to be that random team who does it.
I do. I just am a big fan of John Beilein. The guy is fucking unbelievable as an offensive coach. I can't remember a guy who so consistently finds ways to get his guys into space, so consistently understands how to create catch and shoot 3-point shots, develops and recruits.
I wish I would have had a
shooters.
chance. I wish I would have had the chance to play in that system, just because from an offensive standpoint, it looks so much fun, and I really enjoyed it when I was on the scout team freshman year. It was really fun to just run their shuffle cuts and come off the stagger, and then the pin down in the corner where it's wide down for the 4-man and the 2-man. I guarded Stauskas on it all the time. I was like, this is fun. Chasing it isn't fun, but it looks fun to run.
Yeah. Man, you had to guard Stauskas. You're 7 inches shorter than Nick Stauskas.
Dude, I guarded so many people that were 6'6" and 6'7", it's not even funny.
You talked shit about yourself being a bad defender in high school, but you weren't awful in college. You were okay.
No, I was a decent defender in college, but Coach Ryan told me my freshman year that I was the worst defensive player he's ever inherited in his career.
I believe that.
which is a testament to I got better. I learned. I didn't play as a freshman because I probably couldn't defend. I did well on scout team, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of experience on that team anyway. Gosser he fit the mold. He was a defensive minded kid, and they needed someone at that 2 spot to just fill that role. And credit to him for doing that. But I really learned to embrace defense, which I never thought I would. Now that I'm done playing, I've unembraced defense.
Good for you.
So run and gun, have some fun.
Yeah, shout out to Ben Brust for coming on the show. Ben, you don't really have anything to plug right now, so I don't know what even.
I do, but I don't. There's some stuff I'm working on. Hopefully, I'll be able to announce soon, but. Again, just thanks for having me on. Obviously, me and Reegs do a podcast, Fundamentally Sound. That I got to plug that.
Better podcast than this one, so go listen to it.
Don't say that. Come on now.
much better podcast than this one. Just go listen to that about college basketball. This one gets absurd too often.
I like absurd. Absurd is good.
That's true. It's fun. All right, Ben, I got to go into West Coast Conference Media Day. That's the reason I'm in Las Vegas. It starts in 12 minutes. There's no way that I'm going to get there on time. So Ben, thank you for coming on. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. If for some reason you are still listening, I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to The Athletic. We're doing a lot of really great work over there, or at least trying to. That's about all I got for you. We'll be back next week. We'll talk about some early NBA action. We'll talk about some young players within the NBA and within college basketball, and then I'll do another college basketball preview. So until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.